All right, in this video, I want to talk about powering the URSA Cine 17K65 as well as the URSA Cine 12K LF. Now, the camera is advertised, especially if you buy the kit, with a B-mount battery plate to use B-mount plate, so B as in Bravo. And that's cool, but that's a totally new battery system, and seems like a lot of those batteries are pretty expensive. And for a lot of us out there that are maybe upgrading from a different camera system or just had a lot of batteries sitting around, most likely we're going to have either gold mount or V-mount batteries. B-mount is a pretty new battery mount. And so when I was kind of in pre-production and trying to figure out how to configure this camera and build it out, I really didn't want to go the B-mount route because I didn't want to have to get a bunch of different batteries and either rent them or buy a whole host of different batteries. So what I ended up doing was I purchased the this V-mount plate from this, like the OEM Blackmagic plate, and Core SWX actually makes this. They are a battery company, and if you if you look on the back of the battery plate, it's just like, for support, contact the whatever the Core support email is. So bought this battery plate, and it's allowed me to use all of my existing V-mount batteries for the majority of how I use this camera. And I also reached out to Core, talked to them also at NAB about this, and they were kind enough to send out a couple of their Helix Max batteries. So a big shout out to Core for sending these out and just supporting this channel. And these Helix Max batteries, they are dual voltage batteries, and they are V-mount. They have V-mount, gold mount, and B-mount versions. This is their older version. They have a newer version out now. These are dual voltage, so they send out the proper amount of voltage to the URSA Cine 12K LF and 17K 65 to unlock those higher frame rates that you can only get with those higher voltage batteries. In addition to the higher frame rates over 60 frames per second, you can provide power from the additional power ports, like on the front of the camera, and they transmit the battery information to the camera, which is really cool. But the reason why I went V-mount is because I have a whole host of other, I think I've got like 10 other V-mount batteries that are not these higher end, higher voltage batteries. I just have these. So I've got the older Core Nano Micro batteries that I purchased years ago, and then the newer Nano X batteries, which are really cool. They have a little runtime on the front as well. These Helix Max batteries do too. They have a little runtime percentage on there. But these run the camera perfectly fine under 60 frames per second. And for the majority of what I shot, it was all 17K, 24p, and then some 48p. So on the 17K, you're not gonna record over 60 frames per second. So these batteries are honestly perfectly fine. But when you're running the 12K LF, then these Helix Max dual voltage batteries are really useful because there are higher frame rates that you can get in 12K open gate. So it's just nice to have that option. So a lot of us out there that are coming from a different camera system, we probably have a lot of V-mount or gold mount batteries in our kit to begin with. And so my recommendation would be just buy a couple of Helix Max dual voltage batteries for when you need to unlock those higher frame rates. And then for most other stuff, for filming interviews or anything long form or narrative content or whatever that you're not shooting over 60 frames per second, just use your other existing V-mount batteries or gold mount batteries, and that'll work perfectly fine. So that's what I ended up doing. And then a couple of other things that I used to just make the experience a little bit better was, first thing was this wedge plate. I talk about it in a rig breakdown video of the URSA Cine. But this wedge plate, what this does is this basically just offsets the angle of the URSA Cine, the back of the URSA Cine body. One thing to note is when you are mounting this, I would fish the power cable through first, mount that connect it to the connector on the camera, and then screw this onto the back of the camera. I found that to be the easiest to do. And then this just screws into the OEM mounting holes. And then the V-mount plate and the B-mount plate, and I'm assuming the gold mount plate, it actually mounts just fine to these right here. So that was one question that I had. does the V-mount plate work with this wedge? And it does, so that's really cool. And then two other things that I got. I purchased this this Caddy for my Teardeck Bolt 6, and this is really great. This is Helix Max. You can see it's like, I think it's identified by the green. And so this passes through the high voltage if needed, and it passes through battery information, which is really cool. And so if I'm running wireless, then I have this Caddy just right here, passes power through, and has a little 2-pin LEMO built into it to power the Teardeck. And that is just super clean. And on the URSA Cine, it's really nice to have this Caddy, because typically where I would mount the transmitter would be on the AC side of the camera, but on the URSA Cines, you have that really nice screen right there, and that's not something that you want to block out. And when moving from handheld to shoulder rig using the top handle and stuff, having this by the top handle is just kind of in the way. Having it in the Caddy solves that problem and keeps everything super clean and tidy and all that. And then you can run like a really short SDI cable. Like this one is one I just bought from Mutiny, and it's like just enough distance to run from the SDI out of the camera into this. And I don't have any BTS of that because I got these in too late, only because I forgot to order them in time for the shoot. So there's that. And then the other thing is this little shark fin. So Core makes, I guess, 2 different versions of the shark fin and all the flavors of their mounts as well. But this is the V-mount one, obviously. And this is the Helix one. I also have their standard shark fin adapter that I bought years ago. And this just allows you to hot swap batteries while the camera's powered on. And that's really nice because you don't have to power down your accessories and everything when you're doing a battery swap. And with the SDI on the camera being 12G SDI, you should follow the SDI protocol to make sure that you don't fry the SDI port. And so when you hot swap batteries, that certainly solves that issue. So there are some P-taps on the top of this battery plate, but one word of caution is if you are using the Helix Max batteries, the P-taps get disabled to, I think it's a safety measure to make sure it doesn't send too high a voltage to your devices. So just keep note of that. You can still use the P-tap on top of the battery itself, but these get disabled. But when you're running these types of batteries, then you're totally fine. The P-taps work just fine, and you can run this as a normal shark fin adapter. So that's it. I know it's kind of a long-winded video about powering a camera, but this is a video that I wish I had when I was researching powering the camera, because there just wasn't really much out there on this topic. And this video would have answered all of my questions that I had about powering the camera. So sorry, that was long-winded, but that's how I roll. That's the name of the game for Tyler's YouTube videos. So appreciate you watching, and hope to see you in a future one. Make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff. All right, peace.